Oh, I guess we're live. Yay, we're live. All right. So, yeah. Uh, I just got done with my martial arts stuff today because our master was here for Saturday and Sunday. I tell you what, man, I ate like a fucking pig yesterday, dude. Like lunch was a giant feast with like 10 people, and then like dinner was another giant feast with like another 14 or so.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, alcohol, tea,
Huh.
wine, a lot of Chinese food.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, so for dinner we had like this, what they call suckling pork. So it's
Okay.
like baby pork
Yeah.
roast. This is just roasted, so then the skin comes out all nice and crispy.
Hmm.
Oh, I guess I cut out there. So it's very crispy,
Mhm.
but the meat is very, very soft.
Huh.
Yeah,
It's got to be quite a treat.
it was.
Were you
So,
guys cel-
anyways, oh,
Were you guys
what's up?
celebrating anything like in particular?
No, it wasn't anything special. It was just our master was down here and his wife was away, so he was like, "All right, I'm gonna go hang out with you guys."
While the cat's away.
Actually, like yeah, so yesterday's meal was like kind of a like let's test out the food and see if this place is actually good, and if it is, when it comes to our annual event like next year, we're probably gonna go stick with this restaurant and we're gonna do the same thing. So we oh yeah, we also had lobster last night.
Hmm.
Lobster. Oh
Oh
yeah.
wow. Everybody like pitch in to pay for it and everything.
Yeah, everyone pitched in. I mean it was like 40 bucks a person.
Oh
So
wow. Not
yeah.
bad.
It's pretty good. But I talked to him this morning and he's like, "Man, was there enough to eat yesterday? I don't think there was enough to eat." I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was enough, you know." But maybe it's because I ate most of the food, but that's a whole separate matter.
Was there enough? Yeah.
As there
Was
was
there
for
enough
me, at
for
least. I don't
you?
know about you. Oh man.
Funny.
But yeah. So yeah, today's topic. Um I didn't even have a topic. It's just that this is a an unanswered question that my master asked me today, and he was like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, what do you want to do in life? Don't you have like plans, goals, anything?" And I'm like, "No." So, I mean, I don't know. Should I come up with a plan?
Well, what I mean, do you want to teach?
In my last job, I've done teaching before and I wasn't good at it. And I think you have to be the type of person who actually knows personalities and you know how to custom your teaching delivery method to those different people. Or at least if not that, you have to at least know who you can take in as your students, right? Because
Mm,
even with martial arts, there's three stages. There's uh 近几个, 近天地, 近中生, which is you see yourself, you see heaven and earth, and then you see uh, all natural life.
what was that in respect to?
So with martial arts, people who take up martial arts, they get to a certain point where they find themselves. Maybe
Mm,
they go around and find different martial arts styles and see which one fits them, and eventually they find a group, whether it's a style or maybe the group that they're with, the teacher or something. It's something that clicks for them. So that's finding yourself, and you also find in this martial arts that you stick with, you find what your limitations are, what you're good at. So that's the idea of seeing yourself, seeing heaven and earth. That basically means like when you know how low you are and how high you have to reach and what you have to do to get there, then you know what level you're at in compared to other people.
Okay.
The third stage is seeing all of natural life. So that's usually basically like you've lived a life enough. You've come into contact with other people that you can get to, like, you know what sort of people are going to be out there. You know what makes them tick. You know, I don't know, maybe do they like their coffee with three sugars or one, something like that.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm
So,
being
so
overly
is
specific, but
a strong acquaintance with a lot of people, or the ability to read?
I think the ability to read people. At least that's my interpretation of this phrase. So, but in any case, I mean, I look at my master, and I look at people like oh, I don't want to name the guy, but he's really famous in the Wing Chun world because he comes to our park, and it's very interesting. Like, I don't say or do much of anything, and yet these people see things about me. Like, I think I'm being very reserved, and I try not to show all my cards,
Hmm.
and yet they can see a lot of things. Like, within the first couple of days, my master was like, "Hey, this guy can eat a lot." I'm like, "I barely took like a bite or two of this thing, and yet, you know that I have a big appetite. How does this happen?" Or so this Wing Chun guy, he said, oh, what did he say? Oh yeah, he told me once. He said, "You are the type of guy that has a lot of things in your head. You have too many thoughts that go on." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." How the hell did you know that? I mean, I never even talked to the guy. He even knew my name too, which is really weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, but he's very perceptive is the thing. Now he may have his own issues with certain people, but the fact that he's gotten to a point where he can actually just see a person and say, "Oh, that's who they are," or "This is like that's the type of person that this person is." Like they have their categories set in place, and you automatically fit into one of them, and from there, it's like, okay, you're that.
Hmm.
So that's the third part of the phrase, which is Kin Jong Sung, seeing all of natural life.
That's a is that a Wing Chun expression, or is that just a
No, no,
general?
it's a martial artist expression. It was constantly featured in the movie the Grandmasters, the one that I always pull up so often. I love that
Mhm.
movie. Um, but yeah, so back to the question. Um, what are your goals in life? And I'm like, I just had no good answer for him. And honestly, it wasn't the first time I was asked that question. When I went to see those Xingyi people, right? One of the people they asked, they said, "What is your goal in learning martial arts?" I didn't really have a good answer. I don't know. Would you be able to answer that?
I could give a pretty general answer on the fly. Yeah.
Well, let's go for it.
Well, so learning martial arts to me is something that I've seen. I think I've mentioned it in the prior podcast. I think it's just a natural aspect. Um, like some people would say that art is an indelible aspect of humanity. You can't separate it. Like it's part of the core. I think from what I've seen, the ability to or the propensity to just to ascribe something to something outside of yourself, something greater than the human being within you. I think that's in us all, and that's a part of being martial arts, and that's a part of like that's a part of just being a martial artist in general. Like, not, I mean, there's so many people on this planet now, and not bumping into one another, not bumping into personalities, not starting wars, or we learn this way of maneuvering crowds, maneuvering people, personalities, like you were saying. So you have this reservation of presenting yourself in front of
Yeah.
others. In psychology, there's a concept called evaluation apprehension. This is something I suffer from anytime I go to like any scholastic endeavor. With a test in front of me, I will never show what I really know. It's always like anxiety happens. Um, so with this reservation, this need to contain, I think that being a part of this, playing a part in the whole grand scheme of things, and just general interaction too. Martial arts first answers, what would you do if somebody flipped out in front of you? You would have a set of skills, boom, right there. So that
Right.
removes like fear, like general fear, anxiety, social, like that. Like so what I'm saying is you might open up more um, as you progress, as you go along, because you could just like you could throw down if you needed to. So there's really no need to hold back. Um, and it basically, like, I study martial arts to contain me. So it's kind of backwards from what I was just talking about, but it's more or less like I don't like not being in control of the hand that I'm showing, or the hand that I'm playing, whether I'm showing my cards or not, the tells and the body. Um, Martial arts presents you to you. It asks a question. One question that I found in Aikido was, where am I fighting myself? And that's a question I back off from a lot. Like, why am I not getting ahead in life? Why am I still here where I am? I back off that question because it can be overwhelming. Um, but more or less, like, martial arts gives you, outside of like even physical aspects, it gives you maybe a spiritual, but definitely like mental tools that help you prepare for whatever life has to throw at you. And it's not like it's the jungle anymore. You're not going to get attacked, or like uh, pre-civilization life. Like, you're not going to just get attacked by wolves, or you're not just going to get attacked by whatever. So we've got this different, more urban, city-based lifestyle that we've acclimated ourselves to, and the frame of the human kind of fits around that. And
Yeah, but I
so,
mean, knowing you and me, and I mean, knowing the environment that we grew up in, I mean, even though we're not going to be attacked by some wild animal of some sort, we're still going to have to worry about other people, you know?
yeah, people have soft spots. There's like, if you like, striking a heart repeatedly will cause a heart palpitation, but with the training, it's weird. Like, so one thing that's cool about martial arts is something that I talk about with people, is the fight before the fight, and learning how situations escalate, and how to de-escalate situations, and how to even just step away from something that's escalating. Like, maybe remove yourself, maybe your presence, because they know you're a martial artist and you could control them, and that somehow aggravates the situation. Maybe just taking yourself out of the situation, go for a walk, or go visit a different group if you're in a group setting, in a social setting. So it adds social protections. It adds mental protections, like, as far as as who you are outside of this frame, and the language, the body language that you give off. And it's super interesting. Like I say, I study martial arts for that instant connection with someone. Instant. It's like as soon as you make contact with somebody, you start doing this multi-dimensional dance in a training atmosphere. Like not like, oh, you're both doing the forms in front of each other sort of thing. But even then, it's kind of like it's a different aspect. That would be more like I forget what a group of horses is called. A gang of horses, stallions running in the wild, though. Like they basically know how to like weave in between the crags and in between like the ravines, and they just move together and forward in this unified direction. That is like doing forms in a group.
No, I mean, even if you're not even talking about the group, right? Like just sparring with another person. Like I don't get a whole lot of chances to spar with people with what
Mhm.
I've learned so far, which
Mhm.
is really unfortunate because with Wing Chun, I haven't really had a lot of people who've joined the same person. So it's just been me getting private lessons for very, very discounted prices. And then with Tai Chi, it's like, everyone's kind of doing it very slowly. So the only chance you get to um, touch another person, it's not even like a sparring match. It's basically just just listening exercises is all it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. That's
but
a good way to put it.
go, getting a chance to do Western fencing, getting to spar with people with swords. I
Mhm.
mean, the other day I was sparring with this girl. It was almost like sex, man. Yeah, seriously. I have no other way to describe it. It's almost like sex.
Oh,
And afterwards, we were both like, kind of like, oh man, that was good. We are like, that was good. Like you almost wanted to smoke a cigarette afterwards, right? Because like we're both like this. It was very interesting in that we're both defensive fighters,
mhm.
and so everyone kept saying like, oh, just lunge at the person, just lunge at the person. I'm like, no,
Are they
like
calling
we're
out at you while you're doing this?
no, no, no.
Oh,
It's yeah, not while we're doing it,
oh,
but afterwards they
oh.
kept telling us. And I think she and I were thinking the same thing. Is like, well, if the other person lunges, then I have the opportunity to get them from top down. And so we didn't want to lunge at each other.
Mhm.
And there were like certain moments where she like almost poked at me, but like, with cat-like reflexes, I managed to somehow dodge her blade. Beautiful,
Huh.
beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's part of that that's part of the story that I enjoy. That's why I do martial arts. That story that is yet to be written in each and every experience like that. I mean, that's why I do martial arts. That stuff right there. You can't get that like I mean, maybe like other aspects. I don't know, painting in groups or something, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's unique in its own regard. It's and there's a lot of socioeconomic issues that can if you let them define you. Um, and in martial arts and combat, once that physical exchange is there, you bridge that gap. It's a different story after that. It's not where whoever comes from. I mean, obviously that's going to have a play in what moves they perform or how they handle themselves. But at that moment, at that time of creation, each and every story, every time you go, every time you make it into the dojo or wherever you train, um, despite how you feel.
Yeah. And then realizing how badly we've steered away from the question.
Ooh.
I
As
mean,
far as
so
goals.
the initial question was why you went into martial arts. For me, I guess it's something similar in that I'm trying to find that community. The next
Mm.
step, the ultimate question, of course, is what is your goal from here on forth.
Mm.
So regardless if it's going back to Aikido or going back to Wing Chun, what's your goal?
Well, I would like to teach, regardless of whether it's Aikido or Wing Chun. I'm way behind in Wing Chun. Uh, I would like to teach.
Hey, at least you got the second form down, man. I only have like two-thirds of that, and even then, I haven't been
Mm,
practicing.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I was. They were like getting me ready for the third form, and there was a lot of other stuff and butterfly knives, and they were 6 foot pole, but that was years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Years ago, I got to get back in there. Um, but the goal would be to have absolutely no question on the fight outside of that fight. So, however I handle myself in the dojo, however I how hard I train, whatever the students regard me as, or whatever my peers regard me as in the martial art, handling myself and knowing that if shit gets wild and crazy at work on the streets, I've got tools. I've got knowledge of myself, body knowledge, and my own knowledge. So basically, digging into myself. That would be the goal of my training in martial arts is getting way into myself and becoming completely familiar so that nobody can throw these little people love to do that. They love to just throw these little sparks that try to get you in some way. They'll and they just want that reaction. They just want
Yeah.
that, can I get that out of you? Or what are they going to give me if I give them, this bait here? And being aware of myself and contained and having that tranquility, that's like the ultimate goal. I can engage when I want.
Yeah. No, that's really good because I mean, I'm still at the stage of trying to figure out myself, figure out what my weaknesses and my own strengths, I guess. Um Maybe we need to sit down and do a SWOT analysis sometime. But so I mean, why do you want to teach ultimately? And at once you once you find yourself and then you are able to I think to paraphrase what you just said, figure out how you set the tempo so that you can interact with people on your terms. What then and why?
Well, I'm not really interested in the whole business side of it, like growing this, and marketing and I would be more or less interested in sustaining a business, a practice there, not oh, through Master Richard, we've got out here, got out there, boom, boom, boom. We added this school, we added the Southern Zone. Oh, he's now in charge of blah, 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 blah. At some point, it gets into politics, and that's way, way not what I'm not trying to live a life of politics and martial arts, you
Right.
know. Um, but I mean, your question was what? Rephrase the question again. I guess I forgot.
Um,
So don't get talk too
when
far
you
off.
are at a point in which you can set the pace
Yeah.
and determine how you interact with people, what
Yeah.
then?
Oh, what then? Well, maintaining that. You keep the A.
Hmm. Okay.
Because people will go out of their way, and you will have someone who will try and try, whether it's at a gas station, some random wacko comes in and he's like, oh man, I'm just ready to pop off. And it's just like, he chooses you for some reason. And you're just like inconspicuous. I'm just picking out some chips. I want to get some toilet paper. I'm at a gas station. I just want some toilet paper, or whatever. I want to get a bottle of water. I'm just coming in, and he's just picking you, and he wants to get at you. What then? Basically having answers for situations like that, and knowing how far I'm going to take it.
No, it's a better answer than the one I gave. I so when I went to see those Shingy guys, I had no answer today. I still had no answer. I just said, I'll just gonna, I'm just taking it a step at a time. I really have no plan in life, partially because like all the previous plans I've ever set before have never come to fruition, and it's really put me in a situation where like materialistically at least, I've been put in like worse situations. And I mean, like, it sucks. It really sucks. Like, facing your parents, especially with, I mean, I don't know about you, but at least with my parents, they still have expectations of me to buy a home for them, or to find someone to get married and all this shit. And I'm just like, oh fuck, man.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee of that martial arts.
No, definitely not, man. With martial arts, I mean, yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, small, and even then, I mean, martial arts isn't a dating atmosphere. It's
No.
like, get that out of there. Get all that out of there. So,
Well, it's even
um,
funny too, because then like even my master was telling me, he's like, yeah, well, learn while you can, because at some point, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids, and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, that's not even in my head right now.
so here's something to consider. A lot of the people you're going to run across, as far as like at a master level, martial arts is their life. Some people, some masters, what you might see is they get into like medicinal aspects, or medical careers, whether that's through massage or just they have some knowledge of the physiology of the body, and they work on repairing people, they work on healing. As much as they take, they can give back, they can
Yeah.
heal. I mean, so, but at their level, they've made a choice to have that be their life. I am failing to think of like great, you know, advertisement giants that are also martial artists, or uh, people who travel and make money off of the seminars that they hold, like life coaches.
Right.
Um, I mean, at that point, I think you're like a yudansha in Japanese, and I believe it's Korean as well. But basically, black belt holders, past a certain point, you're stopping, because if you were to go forward with that, it's going to take like, I mean, you're talking 10, 15 years, each of these levels, at the rate that you can do it, with like being a lawyer or being an engineer, or however you sustain yourself. But basically, with a 9-hour workday, trying to be that master level martial artist, you're really kind of stretching yourself. And then also, like, you'd have to work in some sort of like workout regimen, maybe. I mean, there's like kind of larger master level martial artists that don't quite do that. But for what I'm saying is, the people that you encounter, that's their life. And so when they're posing a question at you, what's your goal? Maybe something you should ask yourself is, do I own their lifestyle? Am I willing to take on their lifestyle? Or is this an auxiliary art? Is this an auxiliary ancillary sort of like outer perimeter
Well,
hobby.
no, I mean, even with my master, he even realizes that no one's going to be training like he used to. And he admits, like, he was able to do what he did for 8+ hours a day because back in those days, you couldn't make any money at all. Industry in China at the time was just shot to shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he had nothing but time to dedicate himself to this. And he even realizes, he says, like, I mean, that's why he said, like, at some point you're going to have kids and all that stuff. And, you're not going to have time for this. So learn what you can while you still can. And even then, you're not going to have time to train at some point.
Maintain it, yeah.
Yeah. So he knows that. He's not expecting me to take on his life or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a very practical person, but I think the thing is he's genuinely asking me why I'm doing what I'm doing, or like what sort of plans I have, just out of I
How
think
does
I
it
cut out
make you
there.
feel?
Yeah, like how does it make me feel, and like just to figure out like what it is that I plan on doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
What does it make you feel though when he asks you that? Is it like a blitzing question? Is it like I don't? This is a little uncomfortable. I don't want to have to answer this right now.
kind of, yeah. Because I mean, I don't know. Like I said, all the previous plans I've ever made before, they just never panned out.
Mm-hmm. Regardless of whether he knows that or not. I mean, for
Right.
you yourself, yeah, that'll shake you up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really don't know what to do, man.
What do you mean?
Like how to answer that question. Because even then,
Oh,
like, let's setting aside the master, right? Like, you know, I like the philosophy of Wing Chun of preserving your center line and going for the other person's center line, right? So the way it's often described is once you yourself are centered, then you can go for the goal that you want. I really have no goal. So at this point, to put it in Wing Chun terms, I'm chasing hands.
um, maybe. I mean, another aspect would be that you're ready for input. You're ready to test your center line, but through repetition, that's how you see that. You have to see your own readiness, willingness to participate.
Hmm. I don't know. I shouldn't be comparing, but once again, comparing to like the master, right? He did this for like 8+ hours a day and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask myself, like, would I actually be able to give out that sort of dedication myself, knowing who I am right now?
Well, I mean, you got a lot going on with school
Well,
and all
let's
that.
let's say if even economic circumstances weren't even a concern at all.
Yeah, I definitely have no doubt in my mind you would be able to put that out there. I mean, if you didn't have to worry about school, if you didn't have to worry about, where your next check's coming from, sort of like that generally people have to worry about.
Really? Because I'm asking this question because I'm not even sure if I can actually do it myself.
Oh, sure, man. Like I
Dude,
think,
like I was only doing Xingyi for I don't know, about 3 hours a day, and like towards the end, I was just like, oh man, I was just let me stop, man. My legs are killing me. I'm
yeah,
feeling my
but
knees are getting weak.
I can still recall a time when you were like, man, I was doing it for an hour straight and you were still like, my arms are shaking. And so, I mean, if you don't celebrate your own victories, nobody else is going to do it for you. But I definitely think you have it in you to do that 8 hour thing, to do the like Marshall Scholar full, swan dive into it.
Uh, well, At least someone does.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
if you don't see it, I do. It's just one of those things like where you're not seeing your gains and you're working out, and you're not seeing like all of a sudden your stomach's starting to make that six pack shape, and you're just losing, and your pants fit better. Pardon me, your pants fit better. People are randomly commenting, "Oh wow, your face looking good."
you
Um,
know, honestly, like definitely not the six packs yet, but I'll
oh,
tell you what, man, my waistline it shrinks every time I do Xingyi, man. I seriously,
nice.
I don't sweat like anything else. Like running doesn't even make me sweat as much as this does.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's pretty bad. I mean, like good workout, bad good.
Yeah, bad good. Like it feels really bad while you're doing it, but I mean, ultimately it is a good workout, I suppose. But so okay, so I mean, I don't know, man. I really don't know what to do to define a goal or anything, man. I mean, like I found this group by happenstance,
Uh-huh.
and it was out of this it's a Buddhist concept called affinity in which you have it's like a sort of by magic of fate, I guess. You come upon a group of people and it's like, "Oh, hey, like these guys are nice."
That's pretty cool. I never heard that.
Yeah,
Never
so
heard that.
like I mean, I'm just like just that right there. I'm like, hey, I'm happy. Like but like
Okay,
as
so
far yeah.
one thing your master might be asking is like, what if the group's gone? How would you take this forward? What's your goal in that regard? Because the magic of this moment is just like you said, pure happenstance. It's just coincidental that you guys are still there and still doing it. A lot happens in a year. The group may shrink really, like way, way, way down. Uh,
No, you're right.
do you have it in you to seek more? Drive out 40 miles to practice with a different group.
Um Good question because the training methods or at least the style that we have, no one else has that same style. So in that regard, I would be hesitant to do it because I know that um, it would screw up with what I want to learn from these guys. But if I can say that I can at least learn something from them and the opportunity to train with these guys is no longer available, I probably would do it.
Good. Well, you've got your dedication there. So your goal, I guess, would be you want to travel to China,
Hmm.
get some grassroots training.
I mean, I do want to travel to China, but for other reasons. As far as like training in martial arts, not for what I'm learning through Tai Chi and Xingyi and Bagua, but I would definitely want to try to find the roots of Wing Chun.
Wow.
Like, not like, I mean, a lot of the analysis is already being done by like General Zalando and what's his name, Hendrik Santos. They've done a lot of historical analysis on this stuff, but then there is something that's missing, like the uh, the Red Boat Wing Chun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you heard about the story about how Wing Chun people inherited the long pole form from some Hongga people.
No.
Oh, I mean, it's in the stories. It's basically like at some certain point, like uh, somewhere along the line, someone had exchanged some martial arts forms, and then they taught some ancient people that was part of the Red Boat opera group how to use the long pole, and then that's how Wing Chun got it. Supposedly, the knives might have also been given to Wing Chun from Hong Ga as well, depending on which lineage of Wing Chun you're talking about. Some kind of came up with their own, supposedly, but some say that it came over from Hong Ga. It's kind of hard to tell.
Hmm.
Regardless, so the reason why I want to go to China for Wing Chun is because the long pole, like there is something in using the long pole itself that if you don't know how to use a single rod to steer a boat, which is what they do in China, then like you're kind of missing an essential part of training your hip movements and your um like like how to use the pole properly.
Hmm.
And I know it sounds really stupid, like all this just to learn how to use a pole. But that's what I want to do.
Do you want to go to China to navigate a boat with a pole?
Pretty much.
That's cool. There's got to be there's got to be something for that one time a day or 1 day thing
I don't
trip.
know. I mean, we'll see. Because
So
it's,
obviously coastal city or one with rivers.
yeah, yeah, coastal city.
Hmm. That'd be pretty wild. You know, so okay, so that's like, and you'll go there, I'm assuming, with like a firm understanding sort of thing, not like, oh, hey, the opportunity comes up right away, I'm going to take it. Or is that
Well, I
like
mean, I'd have to do
opportunities?
some research first as to like, where these guys are, where they're
Hmm.
located, what it is they want out of me too. Because I'm sure like if they're gonna teach me how to do this thing, I mean, like they're gonna expect something out of me. But
Right.
whatever. I mean, that's just a distant future sort of dream sort of thing. I mean, we'll see if it actually even happens. And
Yeah.
even before that, before it gets to that point, I still need to work on the second form anyways. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you know how Wing Chun progression is. Traditionally it's been, the Sealim Tao, and then it's the Chum then Buji, and then you have the dummy, then you get to the long pole, and that's, after that is when you get to the knives.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I got a while to go.
That's all right. Um, are you sure there's not like a Wing Chun school around you that's a little more established?
No, there are established Wing Chun schools.
Uh-huh.
It's just that they would be good to join to spar with other people,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't really be learning anything good from them. Like there are certain elements of Tai Chi that I want to incorporate back into Wing Chun
Hmm.
that I won't be able to do if I just go to these schools because they're going to want me to do it their way.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and there's like a blind trust that happens with that too. Like you're expected to do it their way.
Yeah.
And if you have like, well, so that kind of leads me to believe that you have your own plan in your head,
Well,
right?
so with this kinesiology major thing that I just gave up,
Hmm.
so this semester I decided to go into kinesiology so that I could figure out what's a scientific way to describe chi, right? I think that's one of the problems with Chinese martial arts is that many people they describe things in such esoteric ways that it can't be replicated. Part of it is so that it can add to the mysteriousness of the master and like what they can do and all this stuff.
Hmm.
So like maybe sometimes, and it adds to another problem, which is maybe their master, like your master didn't learn properly from their master, and so they can spout out all these things, but they may not necessarily be able to reproduce the skills that their masters had. So behind that, they use all these esoteric things that they may not understand themselves to describe things like what is chi? How do you use chi? Describe it like it's some Dragon Ball Z episode where you can like shoot out fireballs from your palms or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I'm sure you've seen those sort of like MythBusters things with chi on YouTube. You could it's a Google search away, where
yeah.
they like go at these like students who are practicing by a seaside, and they basically like get the higher level people and they put them with an MMA fighter. It's always a fucking MMA fighter, dude.
Right.
The people that suck the marrow from the culture, from the why, the how, like they just go in there for the mechanics of it. Okay, robot, like yeah, you know, you learn how you know, joints bend and uh, pressure points, and like if you, like I was saying, if you strike the heart a bunch of times, it's going to cause a heart palpitation, or if you do it just right, um, and they go in there and they just basically take. I mean, so there's like there is like, what is it, a snake oil salesman, or
Right. Yeah.
sort of thing with the
And that's the
chi
problem with a
stuff.
lot of these martial arts is that the masters themselves, most of them are snake oil salesmen. So
To some degree, I mean, they got to keep the business going, and that's what they do. That's their profession. That's how they pay the bills.
yeah, so I mean, like, even though you may not like the MMA guys, they are at least kind of shedding a light on these sort of people.
Yeah, but I mean, really, they're gonna go into, and I'm not afraid of like anything being exposed, or like whether it's real to begin with, so to speak. Like whether your pursuits and searching for the source, or how to generate, or maybe even just a firm definition, like being corner of doctors, what is chi? I'm not letting you go until you tell me what chi is. Uh, even if you get all that, you still may come up empty handed.
Yeah. But I mean, my whole reasoning behind this is that I believe that what is often just simply dismissed as or simply described as chi can really be explained under scientific terms, under like replicable circumstances, right? A lot of times people would be like, oh, I moved this person because of my chi or whatever. Like, no, not really. No, you just somehow understood your biomechanics and manipulated it so that you move their center of gravity at the end of the day.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And removing the idea that you're talking about chi or someone's aura or someone's key or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, One thing, so uh, in when the body receives a major shock and it's thrown, I was reading online from one of those like, hey, did you know, like little facts thing? I mean, whether they source their facts, those things have been disproven on some of those. But there was one that about how when the body receives a major shock and it's thrown, those are muscles firing in the body. The electricity doesn't necessarily fling things. It doesn't necessarily cause a force, or necessitate uh, momentum. in that regard. That's the body's muscles firing all at once. So when someone goes flying from a shock, that's their body shooting themselves, right?
Yeah.
So with that, and with somebody like causing damage, just a small frame and just being pushed against, a solid object like maybe a wall or something, and they cause damage. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to from that. That that I think is where scientific explanations for chi generation happen. That summoning of all firing at once, the stuff that you're not really conscious of in your daily movements, in your daily routines and practicing. You're not really conscious of that. Um, this now, one thing I have a problem with is like when you're practicing and you're practicing with like a more advanced student, and they're like really just like stuck there, and you're trying to move, and they're like, no, relax, no, relax, or like, you're trying to pronounce Japanese, no, it's like this, and you say it like that, and they're like, no, it's like this, and you say what you think sounds exactly like that. They're like, no, that's not it. It's like this. And it's like, practicing with those advanced students, and then they finally move or they give it to you in that move. And you could have sworn you've been doing it the same way every time, or you've been saying those words to your Japanese tutor the same way. And they're like, oh, okay, that's it. And it's like, why make me struggle? Is
That's exactly what I'm going through with my master right now. Like he just has me doing this one punch and he wants me to do it for first he said 6 months. Now he's increasing it to 8. And I'm like, oh crap. But I swear to God, like first he'll tell me to bring my hand down in a certain way, and then he'll tell me no, it's more like a palm, and then you switch to it being more like a palm, and then he's like, no, 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 do it this way, and I'm like, but that's the way I had it before and you told me to change. And it's like we've gone back and forth over several different things already. I'm just like, I'm so tired already. I kind of want to give up, but I mean, okay, I'm just saying this out of frustration.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
really want to give up, but it
right.
is very frustrating.
It is frustrating. Now, when you do like and like the sticky hand stuff, or like the pox out, god damn pox out, fuck pox out, man. Like you got some dudes like this wall of a man, regardless of whether he can run 8 miles in a sprint or not, grabs you and he grabs monkey grip, boom, he's got you, and okay, go ahead, like, and it's like, you try it, and he's like, are you trying to slap me? Or are you trying to pox out? And
Well, I
it's
mean,
like,
outside of
like,
a Wing Chun context, do you know what Pak So actually means?
no, it's just a sound.
It's a clap.
Uh,
That's all Pak So really means. It's the clap.
it's that's what starts happening when you like gotta give it to me, big guy. But yeah, so you have these like, and so
So
with
okay,
this cheese
so
stuff,
just
like
to talk specifically about the Pak So for a bit, actually, just to veer off
okay,
course. So like when you do a Pak So, right? Like I made the mistake of like just simply slapping someone's arm out of the way, but
with
like
strength.
yeah, yeah. But you're really what you're supposed to do is once you slap it on there, it's kind of like those little old sticky hand
Mm-hmm.
toys.
Mm-hmm.
There was like this sort of like really sticky rubbery thing that you like throw against the wall and then like you slowly pull it,
Uh-huh.
peel it off. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that sort of thing. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Like when you stick to their like when you do a pox out to their arm, bam. Like and then like you're basically supposed to stick to it as a form of controlling their arm.
Yeah, but there's the other arm too. And once you concentrate on the thing trying to do the thing, they've won, because your mind is there and
No,
not
no, no,
on the
no.
thing, the hand that's being held. So it's like a two
No, no, no. The thing is, you're
part
you're not
thing.
just you're not just concentrating on that one arm. You're
Yeah.
using that one arm as a point to control the rest of their body.
Mhm. Even then, even then in sparring, if you try that and it doesn't work, give up on it and go for something else.
Oh, of course. No, it's the same thing. Like it's the same thing with the bong sao. I mean, they say that the what is it bong sao but low. So like the bong sao never stops.
Yeah,
So if you do throw out a bong sao, that is basically like, I mean, aside from just being a block, it's also a point, another
it's
point
not a
from
block.
which you can. It's well,
It's not a block.
it's not really a block. You're right, but
Yeah,
it's
it's a transitional.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, like most people, they only use it as that, a block. So like, but even if you were to use it as that, it's not supposed to
Strength.
stay there. Right. I mean, you're
Then
supposed to like,
collapse your bong and you're stuck here like.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly like going against the maxim right there. So like
Yeah,
if you throw out a bong cell, you're supposed to transition into something else because once you have contact with what they're about to do, you know the direction they're going to come at you, and then you
yeah.
just you know come with a
You,
move to counteract that. But anyways,
you
so
get faster feeling.
yeah, so back to what you were saying though.
Mm. Oh,
Uh
when once you turn the idea over that this person's going to teach you something about this one tough thing, that adds nothing to your understanding of yourself, your understanding of your own generation of chi, your own collection. That just shows you one hard instance, and they are not the instructor. They're not there to do that.
right.
That's the problem with that whole. So like when you know, like we get into this whole discussion on like what to do, right? The idea while you're there is to train, not talk about what to do. Right now, it's fine, but like if you were to have this discussion, in your school, your master likely would walk up and say, "What are you guys doing? Why you stop?"
Yeah, there have been several moments today and yesterday where he was like, "Hey, I think you've had enough of a break. Now go back and practice." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, yeah. Get in there, get going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Because that that punch, that one punch, I understand why he wants you to do the one punch. I don't understand being sat with obviously a tough person who's not going to give you the move, and you have to like figure out how to pop this one person. It's going to work for the one person. It's not going to work
Oh,
in
you mean so
streets.
so basically like the
Not going to
drill
work.
is you needed to practice your Pac out and he's not giving you a chance to do it, is what you're saying? Like sort of
It's
thing? Like
kind
he's
of,
not
yeah,
following the
like
drill?
uh in his mind he is grabbing him, right? And that for him, he's just performing a perfunctory role of just one thing. I'm just doing this. That is not anywhere in any kind of combat. I mean, the fight's over if it stops like that,
Yeah.
right? Combat is done. So the idea that this is any point of training, it's like, handwriting training, homework. It's
Yeah.
like that those rote exercises. You were like, God, I really didn't need to do that. Like my
Yeah.
hand hurts. So in your search, so you have a goal,
I
and
guess.
you just don't feel like sharing it, and which is what I'm picking
No,
up
I mean
on.
I guess yeah, the goal, I mean, on top of what you were saying, because I think ultimately everyone that gets into martial arts, there is that certain element of, you know, trying to deal with other people you've had to deal with, right? And I mean, you want, like you said, you want to deal with them on your own terms. And I
Yeah.
think the same for me as well. Ultimately, yes, we all want to deal with people on our own terms.
Mhm.
And so, but like, adding to that, like I said, with me wanting to, find a way to explain a lot of these esoteric things in more replicable scientific manners, that's another goal of mine. Why? I don't know. Um,
It's good. I mean, so it's a good thing for you because it's you stepping outside of yourself. You're more hard facts. You're more empirical, and this is a different aspect. Training that weaker point, the more esoteric. Even though your idea is to bring it back in the empirical, your training is in the esoteric, which is a good,
Right.
that's a positive thing, a good direction.
So,
Whether it produces anything doesn't matter. Your training there is good.
so if we were to use the Wing Chun maxim of like protecting our center line and going for the other person's center line,
Mm.
and if that other center line is a goal,
Mm.
taking this once again back outside of the martial arts context, what is your ultimate goal in life? Like, is there anything specific that you want to achieve?
It's hard to put that short term pursuit of a goal on out of life, right? Because protect your center line, and if you feel nothing, strike and go for their center line. I mean, input plus input equals output. Sort of like it's not that scientific. Um, and with combat, what are you trying to get out of this engagement? Are you just you're pissed off and now you're blowing off steam? Did this guy fuck your girlfriend? Did he mess somebody up that you knew? What is the point of this engagement? A lot of those can be reduced down to nothing. That's why I train me to know the difference, why I would take that forward. So with that, like it's it's really left me fucking jaded as hell, man. Like my own goal, like I run it up against my own filter and say, why would I want to do that? With like career and IT. Why would I want to do that when I already understand that having, I can either play politics or I can play contractor lifestyle, point to point to point to point to point. Maybe I have benefits, maybe I don't this time. Maybe I'm not covered here, maybe I am. We're in California, so we're supposed to be covered or whatever. But
Don't even get me started on that, man.
Oh yeah. So with IT, like, yeah, I could do that, but if I go back into school, at my level, they're only interested in steering you on this track. And in the same line of questioning, like, what are you trying to do with your degree? What are you trying to do with the school? My goals are shorter term than that. Like, I want to be better at math. How am I going to do that? And how am I going to incorporate that goal into the 9-hour day plus being better at math?
I don't know. Being better at math is very, very general.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, that's more that
trigonometry, filling in
that.
my 10-year gap, 14-year gap of algebra.
I mean, because when you say like getting better at math, that sounds more like a lifelong goal, a lifelong thing, pursuit, I should say.
Oh, but I mean,
Because a goal would be like, especially if it was short term, it would be like, oh, okay, I will take college algebra for the semester and get an A. There's like specific steps and like specific things that you would draw for,
you
but
can't
like,
do that. You can't just take a class like I've already taken college algebra. You can't take it again in California because they don't get paid. So the school's not inclined to let you just sit in a
no, I'm,
class.
I'm just saying there's a difference between what you described and what an actual goal is. What you're describing is so general. It's more of a long-term pursuit as opposed to, say, a goal
Yeah,
with defined milestones.
yeah. Math would have to be a part of the whole way in physics and science. There would have to be a whole like better at math. Like what is the problem here? Oh, well, let's look at some variables. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. What are the knowns? What are the unknowns? Like, a very methodical way of thinking about it. And yeah, I mean, I want to get better at math, like yeah, that definitely does. Okay, well, what do you want to get better at? Yeah, well, right now I'm at trigonometry. Boom, that invites discourse, that invites conversation. You know, people that just hear it and pass it on. Oh, they're just going to pass it on. You know, it's something that misses them. So yeah, it is. I specifically say it like that because it either catches someone or it doesn't. And those that it catches, it invites more questions, and then I can discern, oh, okay, can I learn from this person? That's my bait, I guess. um, but so with this whole IT thing, am I still going to stay in this IT thing, even though the ultimate goal was for it to be a good school job? But even then, when going back to school, it's like I, I, I would have to set myself up for school, basically taking tutoring in algebra, and then tutoring in trigonometry, and then tutoring in like the trigonometry algebra mix that trigonometry classes have become now.
Right.
And then from there, then do the class. And then once I'm in there, then I there's a couple other classes I need, but I'm basically at the end before transfer requirements over to a university. Um, or do I dump all those credits into a liberal arts degree and then try to get a job and just call it done? I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces that it can get overwhelming if you don't make any action on it. If you feel nothing and you don't strike, then it can get overwhelming. But yeah, I definitely want to go back to school. I think that
I
answers
mean,
your question. Right.
okay. Hmm. Yeah, I think after this whole thing, I still don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life, man. Honestly, man, like that question just, oh man, it's so
It's a
dread.
fucked up question. It's
Isn't it?
introspective.
Like honestly, if you were to ask me that right now, like what is your goal in life, Kong? Like I'm just like,
Yeah,
fuck.
I'm not, because I know it's a fucked up question. But I mean, please, if you've got any you got any input, please add it. But I'm not going to be the one to pose that question to you. It's an empty question. Like, you have to take care of the process of asking. So for questions like that, if it's just a catch and release, and you're just like giving them the pox out every time, and they don't learn like what the resistance is and what mechanics are involved to get that fucking arm off of you, um, or where you're taking it from here on out, like are you going to shift, are you going to pivot, like what you're going to do with that. I mean, people just boom, that's like that big wall of guy. What are you going to do with your life? That's not taking care of the situation.
I should have just turned it back on my master and been like, well, what was your goal when you were like 30?
That is actually probably something that should happen. Engage the question. His punch came, and it came all the way.
Yeah, he took me to the wall with that one.
Like, it went all the way. Get out of the way. And so they say, one of this guy, this black belt in Aikido, he's like, get out of the way. I was like, if you can't think of what to do, like, because we practice these moves where it's organic and it's just fluid, and you just figure out what you're going to do as this, person's coming at you. This is like a move, like where you're, going to swing an axe or like a baseball bat or something, just club someone. What are you going to do? And he's like, you're not doing anything. Get out of the way. That's what he used to tell me. Get out of the way. So next time, just get out of the way, man.
Damn it, he's already back home. He like usually drives like about 2 hours just to get here. So
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
So
and that's a one-time visit.
I mean he comes like once every other week, every month.
Oh, you'll see him again. Um,
Yeah,
but he may not ask you again.
probably
Just
not. At least not anytime soon. And I mean, for me to just pop a question like him, like on that, pop a question like that on him would just be.
do it while you're doing sticking hands.
Oh man, I can see him just be like, go back training. I'll be stuck doing the same stupid move for like 3 or 4 hours.
You're still there.
You true.
You're still there. That's a big point. And if he sticks you on training, he obviously doesn't have anything to show you. So he turns the training back to you.
True.
It's not a bad thing. Um, but you know, hindsight's 2020. Uh, but it's a tough question, man. It is, and if maybe he's trying to figure out if you're going to stay there, and that's why I asked the question. You know, if the group was gone, what would you do? Another thing.
Because I mean, honestly, there is a possibility that I will be going abroad. So,
Yeah,
but we can talk about that offline.
yeah. I remember that, and that's not really like as far as like what are you trying to do with your life. He's asking what are you trying to do with this martial art and how you're trying to incorporate it into your life, right?
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, like, on the one hand, I mean, like, most of the people that come to him, they're at a much older age. So they're really just doing it for health.
No,
Yeah. But I mean, like, I came to him and, like, all of a sudden he's like, hey, the the new line to the new successor to this line of martial arts. Yeah, because he comes at it from a very much the fighting aspect, the martial arts aspect, the actual martial arts aspects of Tai Chi, which
okay.
no one does that anymore. Everyone just talks about the health benefits and all that crap. No,
Oh
there's
yeah,
like Tai Chi is supposed to be an art that you can actually fight with. And if you can't find a master that can fight with Tai Chi, then it's not real Tai Chi.
right, right. Wow, it's that real like watered down, westernized version.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, so all this to say at the end of this episode that we really have no idea how to answer that question. But if anyone else does, please feel free to. Well, who am I kidding? No one's really watching this. Come on. Who's gonna run into the comment section and say like, "Well, I have an answer to what I want to do with my life." Like,
Actually,
come on. But okay, how about this? Let's stop this episode here. But I do have another episode I want to record because there is another thought I have. So before
okay.
I lose it, do that.
Mm.
All right, 1 second.